Welcome to Preparing for Alien Contact Meetup Group. There's 10 of us here. This is August the 15th, 2022. And our guest is Crystal. She's been on a few times in the last year and a half. And Crystal was born here in Vancouver. She's experienced a lifetime of unusual and supernatural occurrences. And since birth, she could see spirits, feel energy, empathically see the future, and put her hands on people to heal them. She was given visions of the future, messages for others throughout her lifetime. Her gifts come from the sky nations. Her and her mother were abductees and highly gifted star seeds. She chose Earth during this time to be of service to all, and her mission in this lifetime is to assist others on their journeys, to teach other star seeds how to use the gifts, to share the important messages she receives from humanity. She's currently living in the Kootenays in Rocky, BC. So welcome, Crystal. It's great to have you back.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and timelines is the name of your talk. Crystal's going to talk about timelines.
Yes, timelines.
Tell us what that means.
Well, what's happening is that we have a very big story going on the planet right now. For those who are just getting into the ET phenomenon, or who may be just learning about the sort of conspiracy theory stuff, which is sort of like there's a war between a good, I guess, like benevolent forces, benevolent ETs, and malevolent ETs. They're trying to fight over timelines, over outcomes. So that's why I'm doing this talk about timelines, because I have been getting clear messages. Actually, I have 3 dream journals full of messages. And so I've been able to decode the messages as they're coming in. And I discovered that we had multiple timelines existing at the same time, and that we were jumping and shifting timelines. And that's what I was seeing. So that's why I had conflicting messages coming in, because I was being guided to realize that I was seeing multiple outcomes for the planet as a whole. So.
Okay, yeah. So do you know which timeline we're on? Or that can shift.
I'll go into that one. Yeah, I can definitely. I will be going into great detail. So yeah, I just I guess I'll just start with my presentation.
You got a slideshow, right?
Yep, share screen here. I guess I'll just start. So the highest timeline, or timelines, these are direct teachings from the intergalactic community. So as some of you know, I have a lot of messages coming through in the dream space, direct teaching. So I will be standing in a multi-dimensional space, and often an ET. I used to think they were angels. Now they just manifest very clearly, and they are definitely ETs. They're definitely extraterrestrials, and they're telling me messages about what's coming, what's happening, so it's really detailed. So this presentation is directly from them, from all of the messages. So timeline fluctuations. So first of all, humans exist on a multi-dimensional plane and create reality with quantum outputs, or vibrations, thoughts. Extra-dimensional, interdimensional beings can use fear or pain to manifest their desired negative timeline. An intergalactic community has intervened and began their own hybrid program and starseed posting program to create a higher vibration in Earth's 3D plane. You are here for this mission. So many people who are wondering what they're here for, this is the mission that they're here for. This is the awakening that's happening. All the starseeds are awakening, or pretty much have awoken now. So that's why you're watching this talk, and that's why you're drawn to this topic. There are currently 3 main timeline fractals overmerged onto the human 3D Earth dimensions. I just want to explain what that means for a second. So there are currently 3 main timelines, and overmerging is like where they're layered. So the ETs have taught me about overmerging. It's a new theory. We don't really have a lot of information about it on the planet right now. Our scientists are just starting to discover the theory of overmerging. That's overlapping dimensions, and overlapping, in this case, timelines or outcomes or realities, multiple realities. So the first timeline is negative. I was told on January 22nd of 2022 that timeline had just collapsed. So that's good. Because I will go into that one, and that one's quite a scary dystopian hell. The other one is a Noah's Ark style rescue, and I think about 144,000 souls are saved, and there is an Earth event cataclysm of waves. Jeff and I have both talked about it. Many abductees have seen the same thing. And that's followed by 1,000 years of peace and humans joining the intergalactic community. So we become part of the community with the ETs. The third one is a new one. It was created like late last year. And this one was, I didn't see it for a long time, but it started to come out and I was seeing it regularly. This is human consciousness becomes empowered and creates a consciousness revolution. The extra dimensional parasites leave naturally and humans advance. So as you can see the little sign there, it says, you are here. So we are actually on that timeline, which is really great. So I'm just gonna try to exit share screen. Sorry, I'm doing this from a cell phone. It's a little bit tricky.
Here, little lady,
Okay.
you need a big strong man to help you with that?
Okay, so I'm just gonna take a moment after that slide, and I'm just going to discuss like a little bit of it, just so you can see my face and it's not just a slide and me going through lots and lots of information. So yeah, so timelines and multiple realities are existing. Now, when one timeline, say, collapses, it doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't people experiencing that timeline. So there are multiple realities, and each of us individually and then as a collective are able to create or choose which timeline we're going to be on. So that, say, negative timeline could very well be existing, and there could be many, many souls that actually went into that timeline. But for us, a lot of us are going into this different timeline. So there's almost like a split. But reality is just so fluid. Like there's just so much going on in the multiverse that nothing is really solid. And that what we focus on, we manifest, sort of like alchemy. So we very well could have, many of us very well could have manifested a better timeline, a heavenly timeline, and we've ended up on it. So I think if we're having this conversation, I do think that we're on that heavenly timeline. And some people might not resonate with it. And even if, you know, they were to see this talk and they were to be exposed to these theories, they still would only see the negative. And so they may, you know, very well end up on a darker timeline. So that's why it's really important collectively that each of us really monitor our thoughts and really monitor what we're putting out there, because individually and collectively, we're literally creating reality. Okay, so I'm going to go back to share screen. Here we go. Share PowerPoint. And
Oh, you're good at this. Yeah, it's working.
okay, so the next
There you go.
slide. So this one is the dark one. These are all direct visions I've been shown by both sides. So not just the positive benevolent ETs, but the negative ETs were also communicating with me and showing me what they were up to. It was very difficult to see some of these things. So children are taken from parents by force, from soldiers and health officers. Now that dream came through at 3:33 a.m. on November 11th, 2022. I'm not sure why there's question marks there. I think that might be a typo.
Oh, no, this is 2022. You mean 2021?
Oh, 21. It must have been 21. Yeah.
Unless it's the future.
yeah.
Woo!
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Brian. I don't know why I have question marks there, but I think yeah. So that would have had to have been last year. Yeah. So soldiers remove what they called refusers, people who were not playing along with something from their homes at night, and put them into these horrible like concentration, I call it, they're like death camps. It's really dark. I have to apologize, everybody. This timeline is not standing right now. At least many of us are not on it, so that's good. Most humans are exterminated by force or put into camps. So I saw extermination like on a scale that was just unbelievable. So Enoch is my guide, and I see him, and I actually see him. Like he actually stands with me and will physically interact with me when I'm in my dream space. So he showed me that the elderly were being killed and put into gas chambers. It was very negative and very like fear-based, exterminating. We were being exterminated. I also saw that there was a massive earthquake in Vancouver in the fall. So again, sorry guys. And this kind of like signified the eradication of humans there. There's a lot to that, and I can go into that after, but the refusers were hunted down in the wilderness by drones and soldiers in helicopters, specifically China, and they had like technology that I have never even seen in my life. Like they had a lot of really advanced technology, like almost like alien technology, the forces. These camps were AI merged, and they were basically like a hell beyond comprehension because humans were merged with AI, and it created this AI reality that almost like it almost made people suffer more. It was just really, really dark. Humans were biologically altered to become both male and female, and they were smaller in size. They were unable to speak or form coherent thought, and they were tortured intentionally. It was very, it was very much like a farm. We were like these farm animals for some other alien race or AI or whatever. They were maybe working together, or they had AI for sure. All humans live in these smart cities with only a small pen to go outside. People got 15 minutes a day. I mean, I saw so much detail. There's so much detail coming through about this stuff. The AI can monitor their thoughts, and they are not allowed to even think freely. So there is like these drones would fly down and tell them that their thinking is incorrect and they have to stop that thinking. It was really absolute, like no freedom. And I did see that there was a camp in Chilliwack, which housed most of the humans in that area. And the humans were forced to undergo a lot of abuse indefinitely. So I just wrote, this cannot happen and we have to resist. So I'm sorry about the darkness of this, but the reason why I go public in the first place was because I was literally told that I had to share these messages, not necessarily just the dark ones, but I was supposed to warn people about this potential outcome. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I was given these very, very dark visions and dreams, and also shown other timelines too, but was told to warn people and to try to help shift this timeline. So that's good. We have shifted it so far. We're doing good, but there is a ongoing sort of struggle for the collective consciousness to manifest one of these timelines. So we cannot let that timeline stand. It is just absolutely total enslavement of the human race by something that is not from here. They're not from here. All right. So I'm gonna go back to the next slide. Screen. Here we are. Come on. Okay. So, okay, this one is a little bit less scary, but it is also intense. So the benevolent ETs made a plan and said, okay, if this negative timeline stands and they are successful, I believe that they had a plan to flood our planet and to they were willing to wipe out all of the life on the planet to get rid of these parasites that are trying to take over the planet. Well, they kind of have already, but they're being kicked out now. So I saw, this is directly from the ETs while I was on their ship with them. They were explaining what was coming, and they told me this in 2010, and it was scheduled to happen in 2012, but it didn't. So a massive war starts in North America. It is an extermination of humans. Again, another extermination so they try to exterminate us, and then all systems collapse and humans live in extreme poverty. The ETs intervene immediately and flood the earth by flipping the planet upside down. This creates ocean waves that are as high as the Himalayas. I'm not the only one who's seen that or been told about that. As they do this, they simultaneously rescue as many as they can. I was told each ship can hold 3,000 people, but approximately only 144,000 people were able to be saved. They're brought aboard ships and for a short time, they're brought aboard the ET ships for a short time and then return to a new world. So it's built for humans already. ETs and humans live and work together. There's 1,000 years of peace and humans, and advancement actually, and humans join the intergalactic community and become travelers. Humans live on pods on the oceans. That's what I saw. They could have been on land too, but I did see that they were on the ocean, totally free from pollution and ecological damage. So the earth is totally healed, I mean, almost instantly. And the animals and plants have been saved and cataloged, and some are saved for other worlds. So the Greys do a lot of this work. They do a ton of this kind of work where they're the scientists, they catalog, they save DNA, they do DNA genetic stuff. That's really their interface, is like, because they're the closest to us. So the Greys are the ones who do all of that scientific work, and that's why so many people see the Greys. They're like the first level up from us, I guess, in terms of evolution. They told me when I met them that they were us in a million years. So I thought that was really neat, and I guess that's why they were selected to do. They also have a fascination with genetics and science and spirituality science, like consciousness science and stuff. So yeah, they are sort of that interface. And so they're the ones who have been doing all of this cataloging. And that's why they show up in like remote areas, and you see ships in remote areas or strange lights above the mountain. That they're finding, like, they're literally cataloging all of the life on Earth if they have to flood it with waves. So they're just they're the scientists. That's what they call themselves, the scientists. Sorry, give me 1 second. I just have my dog scratching at my door here. Hold on. Hold on.
Oh gosh, I have to entertain the audience while she's out.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
No
I just
problem.
don't want him to bark. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay, so that's direct intervention. So that's the second timeline. Now the third timeline is new. This is brand new, and it just started showing up last year, like I said, and this is really good. We're on this one right now. So humans transcend. So what will happen is all of the systems will collapse. That will happen. But humans will step away from the systems by growing their own food and riding bikes, and they will figure out ways to make it through this. And they do it together in community. We trade with each other and we help each other out. The suppressed technology, when that's released, then it's game over for the dark forces. And there are people working right now behind the scenes to get this technology out. We have technology to heal ourselves. We have technology to grow everything, any type of food. We are so advanced. We have free energy. We have so much, and it's being suppressed, because if that technology were to come out, like, I mean, we would be able to live in a very, very peaceful civilization where we didn't have any scarcity, and where we had technology that could handle all of the problems that we have in this world. It could be solved almost overnight. Pollution, cancer. There's just so much that could be solved. So that's coming. There's no more government. So the governments are disbanded. There's no laws. There's councils, local councils, and then going up even to like galactic councils. And that's once the ETs show up. They're going to let us do a lot on our own first, because we're not ready for them quite yet. So the human beings begin contact with the release of technology. So I think towards the end of our own evolution, we're going to have the release of technology. And then I think that contact's already begun for many people. So we'll be the bridges. Like they've told me, I'm a bridge between the humans and the ETs, because I'm a hybrid, so I'm both. So they've told me I'll be bridging. But there's quite a few people who are having these experiences, and then some who will just like, they will be ready to hear it and work with it. Humans are assisted by ETs and rebuild on our own terms. So we get to choose the world that we want to live in collectively. And we do get to become part of the intergalactic community. And again, the 1,000 years of peace that stands. So this is a new timeline that we've created with our own manifestation. So, okay. I'm just going to go straight to the next slide. So grid and portal work. So there's been we've had a lot of help to get to this point. This didn't just happen. It happened through a massive, massive global collective effort. And it's still happening. It's not done, but there has been many things that have contributed. A lot of it is grid work. So working on a light grid across the planet to dissolve this old grid that was keeping people asleep and keeping people in a negative state. So portals as well. ETs travel through portals. Other multi-dimensional beings travel through portals. And people are just starting to learn how to harness some of this energy to figure out what's coming out of the portals and like how, so we're just like starting to learn the real basics of multi-dimensional existence. So star seeds were placed to be of service exactly where they are now, or where they are called to go. So a lot of us actually were placed on portals. Where I live, it's definitely a portal. I have photographic evidence showing that the sky above my place is always blue, even when it's stormy. That's just very strange. It's sort of a circular dome shape. So I'm 100% sure I was put here. I was told to come here in a dream. I was told directly to stay. And so that's a portal. So many of us are on portals, or we're on grid lines. Now, South America is a main calling point for starseeds currently. There's a new consciousness coming from this area, which is spreading through the field. So I'm talking like South America, Peru. I'm talking ayahuasca shaman. I'm talking about this new frequency, this new consciousness. It is spreading from South America. So all star seeds have been placed on an Earth grid point. Star seeds are being brought to Earth's grid points in astral travel to do grid work and anchor.
The fuck up and do something fucking useful, you stupid piece of fucking shit! Now watch this fucking ready?
Whoa, what was that?
Well, it looks like someone invaded us. I hit the mute button, but it happens sometimes. You get Zoom bombed. I'll remove him if he comes back.
Geez, that was scary.
Well, expect surprises.
Okay. Well.
Don't worry, I can edit that out. The audience will never know.
Jeez. Probably, yeah. Well, I guess we'll just keep going here. Okay.
Sure, what could possibly go wrong? Hi,
Is that
Shecky.
evidence of the bad timeline?
Yeah. So this black guy, George Pickens, I just removed him.
Yeah, I remember this happened to Jeff during his presentation too. Somebody just came in and started messing with his presentation and drawing penises all over the screen. And
Yeah, well, he could get back in, Yeah. At worst, we have to set up a new Zoom. I would send it to everybody in the chat, but we'll see. I just made a complaint to Zoom. There's a forum here. Yeah, if it happens again, what I would do, I would put a new Zoom link in the chat for everyone. You'd copy that. Then we shut down the Zoom. This is when he's off, and then he wouldn't be able to find us. So I've got it all planned out. Every contingency is taken care of.
Yeah, this kind of stuff happens often when we go into topics that are like I've had a lot of interference, like a lot of interference. I've even, had threats and whatnot. So very well possible, not without sounding paranoid, it's very well possible that that's being done on purpose. And this information, some of it might be just a little too out there, and they just, who knows? Sometimes they don't like it, and they'll just mess with our presentation. Sometimes just random people, but it's just strange, the timing. Sometimes it just gives me like a kind of the timing of it, talking about grid and portal work and going into, multi-dimensional information and stuff and timelines. I mean, I don't know.
So
I
maybe
think it's
you think they're after
confirmation
you.
you're doing the right work. That's what it is to me. Just
Well, thank
confirmation.
you, Cynthia. Thank you. Yeah, I've definitely had a lot of interference. I've had, black helicopters and all that crazy stuff. And,
What did Cynthia say?
Yeah, Cynthia, what was that? Come back on.
For me, I just truly believe that it's just confirmation that we're doing the right work, because we can either be stopped by the fear or the angst of what just occurred. And for me, I just confirms we're doing the right stuff. That's why it's being messed with.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
But Cynthia, your mic is a bit loud. I wonder if you have a sound control, if you can turn down your sound settings. Okay, Chris, I guess we're pretty much back. What could possibly go wrong?
well, it's fun. We're having fun, right?
Yeah.
All right. So star seeds are being brought to Earth grid points to do grid work and anchor in the new frequencies. So some people are reporting strange and amazing experiences of astral traveling and going to special places on the Earth, like the pyramids or the Himalayas. And there's so many places, and I have a list here. But star seeds have been shown multiple PowerPoints. So they've been shown that the pyramids of Giza is probably the most important PowerPoint on the globe for intersecting ley lines. So if you think of like a geodesic dome shape around the entire planet, there are certain points where many lines will intersect, and these are PowerPoints. And that is also where there are a lot of pyramids. So I've said this before in my talks, and I was told directly in 2010 from the Greys that the pyramids were not built by humans, they were built by something else, and they used it as a grid for control, for us, to enslave us and keep the planet in a low vibration, and keep us in a low vibration. But what's happening is there's a reversal. So there is a movement of people who are consciously and unconsciously, physically and also in the astral, reversing the grid. They are reversing a grid. We've been shown this light grid, and they're using the pyramids and whatnot and all those ley lines to actually dissolve that darkness. And it's working. It's really working, because now we have this revolution happening. People's consciousness is it's just like people are just coming into themselves and like awakening and having these incredible multi-dimensional experiences. And that's because of this work. And many of us here in this group, even, or people who see this video, they are doing this work. Like they're being guided, and shown and taught, and they're doing it. So we have the pyramids of Giza, the Himalayas. I was shown the Eiffel Tower. I was shown Mount Shasta and Edmonton, Canada. And there's so many more. I mean, there's so many more. So working on these lines and points magnifies and intensifies powerful healing energies for Mother Earth and for the collective of beings on Earth. And we have been shown a beautiful crystalline Earth grid, and it is up. And there are people who are working on this, who've been working on this since the 80s, since the 60s, since, nobody was talking about it. Now this is something that has become a lot more common. People talk about the Earth grid all the time. And it's just, this information is really getting out there, and people are actually really doing this work. And in huge groups, more and more and more people. So merging quantum reality with 3D. So we are multidimensional. We are just like the ETs. They are multidimensional too. We are the same. They made us. We are made from the same things. And whether it was dark or negative or positive ETs who made us, or if it was a combination, or we've had many, many different alterations to our DNA as we've evolved. Whoever did it, they put ET DNA into our DNA, and we are multidimensional. Like, we are 100%. We are. So the reason why we don't know that is for many reasons, being in an oppressed world where we were like cattle, basically. And now the cattle are awakening and becoming enlightened, multidimensional beings that they already were, but they didn't know, right? So I was shown this. You and I, we are each a band of color in the quantum reality, which is what I call the rainbow field. So it's holographic. It's sort of another dimension, but that's like actual reality. That's what we all are. So therefore, you are interdimensional and able to access all points of time and space, because this holographic field, which is where a lot of us go to do more advanced work, that holographic field, everything is totally connected, and it is here too. But in that field, it's just like clearly everything is connected to everything. You can actually see it and feel it, and it's really difficult to put it into words, but I'll keep trying to share this to the best of my abilities. So we are capable of changing the rainbow holographic field to alter reality in immediate ways. So I've been taught how to do this, and I'm going to teach you guys how to do this as well. But I'm still learning. I'm still like in the baby steps stage of all this. But they are teaching me how to step into the rainbow field and then access the blueprint of all reality. And when we do that, we can do things like changing the weather. We can fly in body. So we are like, it's amazing, the abilities and the skills that we have. Those are just a couple things, but I actually just did a talk with Vancouver UFO about this, the Real Life X-Men. You can check it out. I go into all of people's skills and abilities, what I've been shown and taught that we can actually do. But the way that we do that is we go into this multi-dimensional reality, and we can change reality through our thoughts in this dimension, but actually going a step further and going into this holographic field consciously and changing reality on multi-dimensional levels. So meditation enhances these abilities, and it is the doorway to go to these realms, to these dimensional places. The pineal gland is how we can see these realms. So that's how you can see. And we are already oscillating in multi-dimensions, and our reality is our perception of it. So they told me, one of my favorite quotes from the ETs is reality is what you make of it. I think that's it. Reality is what you make of it. Yeah, and I just thought that was so interesting, because they were just saying it's whatever you manifest it to be. That's reality, individually and then collectively. So I think that's really neat. All right, so we have been advised to build the new world, not the New World Order, but the new world. We were told only to focus on the new world. The dark timeline has fallen. ET civilizations are prepping us for direct contact and interactions. We must learn universal science and consciousness basics before contact. We can fly in our bodies. We can speak telepathically. We can travel and exist interdimensionally. We can heal without medicine. We can communicate with all beings telepathically. We are all able to see the future. We can communicate with any being in creation at any time in the field energy. So remote viewing is where that comes from. So that's multidimensional skills. And we can create anything in this holographic rainbow field of consciousness. So we are master creators. We are absolutely master creators. I'm going to leave my website up here just so you guys can have a look. You can check out my website. I'm gonna come back to you now so you can see me. Sorry, guys.
Don't turn off your power. Don't leave us, Crystal. Don't go.
Oh, no! Did I push? Oh, goodness.
No, no. It
Okay.
just showed up on the screen.
I'm sorry. It's so hard to do this from a cell phone. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm just, I feel like it's important that we know that we have these abilities. Everyone has them. There's some who have them maybe a little bit more developed, or at least they feel like they do, or they're just, but everyone's on this path. Like everybody's on this path of their own growth at their own speed. It's not a race to be like the best at it, or, it's just, everyone's just they have their own speed of learning this stuff, because it's really complex and it's really difficult to learn. And if they had just thrown all of that on me from the very beginning, I would find it slightly overwhelming. It's been a series of steps and a teaching, and like it's a very clear teaching when I go into my dream space and they're there. They're like, okay, now you're going to learn about the rainbow field. But it was building up for 2 years before I was able to start learning about the rainbow field. And then the next thing was, okay, now you're going to do things in the rainbow field that will affect 3D reality. And so they walked me through, and I was able to, I'm not going to mention the things that I was doing, because I think that it might actually cause me some grief if I publicly mention them. But let's just say, like, it's real, and these skills are real. And I've literally watched reality completely match with what I was doing in those other multidimensional spaces. So, and they're not little things. I mean, we can literally change the weather, and we can literally, there are people who can levitate, who can fly. Those are just like two of the things, but they're really mind bending for us. Like that's really possible. I'm watching it. I'm experiencing these things. I'm not flying yet, but if I learn how to fly, I'm definitely going to let you guys know how to do it.
Yeah, we'll book another talk when you're flying for sure.
Right.
I promise.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
The library is closing, so I have to leave, but you did an excellent job.
Do you have any questions? You can talk now,
Jackie.
Shecky. If you've got a few minutes, you want to have a question for Crystal or comment?
A comment is, don't worry about the technology. You did fine, and don't say sorry anymore.
Oh.
Okay, you don't have to be sorry.
I want to comment. Checky's done a lot of writing. I get his emails. We're both concerned about World War III, the war in Ukraine. And you said, Crystal, that the negative timeline collapsed around January 22nd, but February 24th was the beginning of the war. Do you think that negative timeline will not be World War III? I know it's been on Chucky's mind a lot. So while he's still here, I thought I'd ask you.
But what do you guys like? We have to go up a higher level. So collectively, if we all say, oh my gosh, we're on the verge of World War III and it's happening, then we collectively manifest it for the parasites. So what we're doing, what a huge movement of people are doing, is we are manifesting a heaven on earth. We're not rejecting reality. It's just that reality is dissolving and no one's playing along with it. No one's really feeding into it. There are people who are, but the movement's growing where it's like we're dissolving that darkness with our own direct manifestation, alchemy, and taking responsibility for what we're focusing on and how we see things. World War III, what is World War III? Like, it's, who says that there is such thing as a World War III? Like, what if we just collectively said, sorry, that's not happening and we don't follow this, and we're not participating. We're manifesting heaven on earth here.
Sounds good to you, young lady. I look forward to our next exchange. I'll do better to find a place and time where I can participate more actively. Brian, good seeing you again.
Good
Bye,
to
everybody.
see you, Shecky. You can always go up to the coffee
Shecky.
shop and join us again. You can leave the link and come back in if you want.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
Are you a Christian?
I I
Not-
am a Christian. I'm wearing a cross.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but
Be-
it's just
Well, then you must, well, you not must, but you could know that 144,000 people and the 1,000-year peace is mentioned in the Bible.
yeah. I do know that now. Yeah, I didn't when it was coming through. I didn't put it together.
Yeah, it's
I
interesting.
would, yeah, it is interesting.
And
Yeah.
the Jehovah's Witnesses have a problem because they consider themselves as being the 144,000. But now they have more members than that. So
Oh.
they have a little problem. You have to sort them out. That's funny. You put the peace sign after the word peace, so-called peace sign, right? Do you know where it comes from?
No, where does it come from?
Well, there is this atheist, Bertrand Russell, that designed it in England, actually as an affront to Christianity. It's an upside down broken cross.
Oh,
So at least that's what the Christians are saying. It somewhat makes sense because I was for a while in the Haight-Ashbury area, and the peace sign was carried around everywhere, but it didn't seem to do any good. Like peace did not evolve from it. So maybe it's better not to use it.
yeah. I think if we go back into our history, way, way, way back, there are so many symbols that were perverted against us in even our own language, even the words that we speak. There's, if you look into it, there's even, they say spelling, like casting spells. So the way we say things, I mean, we've been
Mhm.
reared like chickens or cattle, and we've been given these systems, and we've been given these languages, and there is so much to it. It's, the rabbit hole goes so deep, the oppression. It goes back to when we were early stages of farming, hunter-gatherers, just going from hunter-gatherers to farming. So everything, all of the symbols, the dates, all of the astrological things, almost all of it has been perverted by a dark parasitic race who was here to enslave us.
Yeah, the negative forces, just like we just noticed, right? You're always trying to interfere.
Yeah.
And try to make, yeah, well, something that is good, they can't stand it.
I think Karen had her hand up. We can use the hand feature at the bottom where it says reactions, raise hands. So
Oh,
Karen,
okay.
well, that's okay, Karen. You've already raised your hand, so you can go first.
I just have a comment, Crystal. Listening to what you were saying about they were going to take children from their parents and all of this stuff. If you have the opportunity to listen to Nostradamus's quatrain of the end of days, and he's calling in his vision 2060 will be the end of the world. But what he had to say, pieces of it line up with the visions you've been given.
Mm.
And this is where Nostradamus, I really wonder if he wasn't also a part of a star seed or a star seed, because of the visions that this man had. He saw the rise of Hitler. He predicted a number of events, right? And this is where I can't remember the quatrain number, but it does get pretty dark, and it is pretty depressive and scary to think what is coming down the pipe. And you can kind of see it lining up with the issues today of the people that are or trying to be in control of the humans on this earth. So your visions line up with this. And I just find it amazing that it's so similar. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Yeah. And I've also had some visions. I haven't put them in here, but they also line up with the Bible. There's a lot of visions that came through in 2010 and 2011, 2012 that were matching the Bible, prophecies from the Bible, which like took me a while to realize that that's what I was seeing. I had to go back and read my Bible and be like, oh my gosh, I had to read Revelations and it just blew me away. Some of it was just like so bang on.
Yeah, I get it. Because I'm putting other pieces together about the creator and a whole pile of other things. I'm not going to go into it right now at all. But when I listen to people like yourself and some other people and some of the information I'm picking up, it's starting to pull some things together from my own experience, which Brian is aware of. And I'm not going into that tonight. In fact, my time is kind of dwindling down here. But just wanted to say, interesting what you have to say and how it lines up with other external information.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. And Cynthia, get your hand up.
So I found it very interesting what you were saying about the death camps, etc., because I know that when the whole COVID vaccination thing came up, and for me, there were just so many red flags that this went much deeper, that it really had nothing to do. The object was to make us terrified. So masking us, making us stay in, all that stuff was a way to determine how many of us would just take orders without having any resistance whatsoever. So I started, investigating, like, well, what do you do if, anyway, I don't know, there's so much information. So I started, realizing that it didn't matter where you went on the planet, because we would be hunted down by drones or whatever. It just became evident to me. And also when they enacted the army in Canada, when they, back in the very beginning for the vaccination stations, there was a period where the government had the army on hand, right? So for me, that was, and my daughter, who's remarkable, has predicted this stuff starting well over a decade ago. And she talked about, the possibility of putting people in what you refer to as these death camps, right? But it's my belief that it is due to the raising of consciousness that has eliminated that pathway, which I associate with that timeline that you just spoke with, the dark timeline that's been done away with, because all those measures are dissipating now somewhat. What they're going to bring on next, I don't know if they are in fact, but I do believe that it's that our consciousness is absolutely the answer. I mean, that is the way. That is the way, right? And the ability to manifest, there's no question how little we realize that, how little we actually know about our ability. Because thought is the beginning. Thought is the most powerful, I don't want to say tool, because it's not a tool, because it's everything that we have. It's the beginning of a manifestation, is whatever we think. But I found it interesting with your timelines, because with my little bit of knowledge, I really have counted on my daughter, who's guided me greatly throughout this whole thing. Yeah, I mean, there's so much of what you said, but the other thing that I just wanted to mention, because it interests me, is this whole thing about getting ready to be able to actually meet our ET friends, right? Because I believe that I'm one of those people that have been monitored. I had conversations with with Brian and then with Jeff afterwards, because I kept having this UFO appear, kept coming for over a year. But I was afraid. And, but what I've noticed in the last 10 months is that people will come into my house and they'll say, why is your floor vibrating? Like, your floor, what's going on? Your floor is vibrating. And also, I will start vibrating. My feet start vibrating. It goes through my body. And so I've consulted my shaman friends, you know, who have said, well, you know, that's your frequency. And I think Mary Rodwell actually spoke to that, about your frequency maybe being altered, right? And so people have mentioned that when I speak about certain things, they see little white orbs and stuff, right? So I find very interesting. But that whole frequency thing, because getting ready to be able to, I understand from what I've read that we have to be prepared, and I may not be in the state of mind or whatever it is to be able to actually receive contact. And I'm really interested in that at this juncture right now, is being able to set that up. So anything that you can share about that sort of thing. If it's off topic, I don't know, but thank you.
Yeah, no, and I just wanted to just let you know, like when I first started consciously making contact, so I was already having contact, but I started to really hone in and try to talk to them directly and, you know, without them just showing up in my dreams. And during that time, my ground was constantly shaking. My couch was constantly shaking, and I could not figure out what the heck was going on. And my son said he couldn't feel it, but I felt it like almost all day, every day. It was just really clear. And you're the only person that I've talked to who is like, yeah, that's happening to you as well. And I think that's interesting because I never really figured out exactly what that was, but it was happening around contact. So it was right when I was getting videos of UFOs, right when I was having orbs showing up in my room and owls outside of my window and, you know, kind of some darker stuff and military. I mean, it was just a lot of activity was happening. A lot of activity was happening at that time. So yeah, the shaking was, so yeah, that could be related. And I guess we could go into that more even. And see.
The other thing is, well, I have a lot of crow friends. So I have a lot of crow friends who know me, that follow me and stuff, but not owls, but crows, but I love my crows. But I've also just recently started to get ringing in my left ear. All of a sudden, just ringing in my left ear. And what my shaman friend said that you get the ringing in your left ear when they're close by. That's kind of, you got to start recognizing the signals of being told when they're so I just, you know, I don't know what to make of that or where to go after that, if that's the case. But it comes and goes.
Yeah, well, the way to open the door to speak to them directly and have contact, like really clear contact, because it's a process, it takes time. But it starts with meditating. And then meditating in the field consciousness. So like going into that rainbow field, into a field consciousness, and then calling in benevolent beings that want to talk to you. And there's people out there who teach it. I would like to do a meditation series, like to show people how to do different types of meditations, like grid meditations, outside meditations, but also just like the basics of learning how to open the door. But here's the thing, when the door opens, it doesn't just easily close.
Yeah.
And so we have to be prepared. Like, it gets weird. For a little while, it gets weird. It gets weird and we get pushed sometimes beyond what we can handle. And we are allowed to say, whoa, stop. I can't handle anymore. It's too much. And they usually will try to push us beyond our comfort zone, but we do have the final say if we're just finding it too much. And because it gets really weird. I can't even, I have the weirdest video footage and just the strangest things. But now, you know, a year later, I've integrated it into reality and been able to, you know, be very balanced and grounded. But when you first swing open the floodgates to those worlds, it can sometimes just overwhelm us, we have like an awakening. It's almost like being reborn into a totally new reality. So it's good to be ready for that and to be mindful and to have people who can help guide you through it. Because like there are many of us who had to do it on our own, and for like a year, you know, we were just unable to be around people even, you know, and have conversations about normal chit chat or small talk, because we had just like literally seen
Yeah, I know.
multiverses and aliens and been told about our missions and and then you go and talk about something simple with people and you're like, I'm not the same person anymore.
Yeah, no, I get that. Thank you. I concur. I understand.
Just want to mention before we get to Bruce, Cynthia's daughter is a hybrid. She showed me pictures of her daughter with like really big eyes. I've seen that before. So I think, so probably Cynthia, you've probably been on the craft probably all your life, and your daughter. And what about your parents? Are you one of these family lineages, Cynthia?
Well, Jeff, in talking to Jeff, when Jeff asked about my heritage and I said Irish, he went, okay.
Yeah,
So
there's an easy connection with the Irish and the
with,
Celts, absolutely.
with the Irish. And I know, you know, I mean, as a child, I mean, I had things that would happen to me as a child when I'd be thrown into these tunnels of light spinning at these fast speeds that were so terrifying. I shut down a lot of that until my daughter was born. And when my daughter was born, it was clear, like, you know, I mean, you know, at 6, you know, she said, you know, Mommy, and pointing at the sky, Mommy, do you know how long I waited up there for you to be ready to have me? Like, I had to reopen that when she came into the world.
What about your daughter? You think she could join us sometime on a?
I know. I asked her. She's such a she's got so much. She's a very busy girl. But I'm going to ask her again. I'm going to ask her again because I think it would just take coming to one, and she'd appreciate. She'd have. I mean, this would all be an of course to her. This is just an of course. I mean, she's able to translate quantum physics into lay terms and explain them to people in a matter of minutes. She's got no. So for her, this would just be. But I think it would be an awesome recognition, and again, kindred spirit. You know, just because she's been ostracized, most of her life for.
Yeah, well, tell her she's welcome. You know.
Yeah. No, I will. Yeah.